Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Burke County Board of Commissioners pre-agenda meeting for Tuesday, June the 5th, 2018. I'll ask you to be sure, commissioners, turn on your microphones when you speak today. And if you have presentations to make, please come to the table and be sure to turn the microphone on so everybody can hear you. Madam Clerk, all commissioners are present, along with the county attorney, manager, and other staff. I'll remind you to please silence your mobile devices. If you have telephones and other things that make a racket, please set those to silent mode at this time. All right, gentlemen, we have a slightly amended agenda. You should have received it. I'll ask for a motion at this time to approve the agenda as amended with, I think, 2 new items.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Wayne. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. This brings us to the first item on our agenda. It's item number 3, presentations, Western Piedmont Community College Special Recognition, and we'll recognize Atticus Simpson for that information. Hi, afternoon, Atticus.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Atticus Simpson. I'm a Vice President at Western Piedmont Community College, but also the Executive Director of the Western Piedmont Foundation, and we would like to bring forth a presentation for our Outstanding Alumnus Award. You all meet during the normal Commissioners meeting. The Outstanding Alumnus Award is an honor that provides recognition for exceptional achievement by former students of the college based on the criteria, which includes exemplifying professional growth through recognized accomplishments, candidate has participated in community and civic activities, and the candidate has demonstrated support for the goals and objectives of Western Piedmont Community College. We do this every year. I've been doing it since 1988 or 89, and this is a community-nominated process, and we have a candidate that we are going to award, and we would like to do it in front of the commissioners because the employee or the alumnus is an employee of Burke County.
All right, thank you, Atticus. Any questions for Atticus on this item? All right, here none without objection, this will remain on our agenda. Thanks, Atticus.
Thank you very much.
This brings us to scheduled public hearings items. Item number 4. First item is County Manager adoption of fiscal year 18-19 budget and public hearing. Brian, any comments on that set?
No, sir. Mr. Chairman, members of the board, Paul has made the changes that were discussed in the previous work sessions, and you should have a like a one-pager, and you've also got a 3-page document the clerk has passed out. So I don't know, Paul, is there anything that you would want to go over?
No, not particularly unless some of the board members just want to. But the one-page document, the top section on the general fund, those just indicate the changes that the board made at the last budget meeting. I think most of everything in there is self-explanatory. The first column, total expenditures, matches the far right column, total revenues, and it just more or less shows when you're increasing appropriation that we're increasing fund balance to pay for it. And then the one item where we were taking $50,000 out of the library revenue and moving that to fund balance. But and then the very bottom thing we didn't really touch on last budget meeting, but after last week's meeting, we received notification from the 911 board on the amount of funding we will receive next year. So we had to make a slight $41,000 change in that revenue. It's in effect, we're reducing the money that we had budgeted from 911 board, switching that to come out of the 911 fund balance. The 911 fund balance is about $1 million. So right now with this change, we're looking at budgeting 185 of that amount. So I'll be glad to answer any questions on that document. The other document Brian mentioned is really just a compilation of the breakdown on the general fund recommended budget into the components: personnel, operating, capital, debt service, and transfers. This just gives you, in a brief summary, all the information that was in the thicker document that just lists the expenditures next year and current year broken down by those categories. So, again, be glad to answer any question anybody has or wants me to explain anything in more detail.
Mr. Chairman, just a point of clarity, Paul, I was too busy looking and not listening. You said all the changes we made at our last meeting are included on this new 3-sheet.
No, the three-sheet summary is just the compilation of the manager's recommended budget broken down between personnel cost, operating, and capital. The one-page document shows the actual changes the board talked about last week.
Okay, thank you.
Just, sort of, I guess for the record, point of clarification, with those changes, the manager's recommended budget was $84,291,218. Incorporating the changes, the new budget is $84,390,082.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul on these items? I'm sure you don't think of them right now. He'll be glad to talk with you anytime otherwise. Any comments? All right, thank you. Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Brings us to item number 2, BDI, amended local economic development grant for project engines and public hearing. And Alan Wood will update us on that. Afternoon, Alan.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Madam Clerk. This is an amended, and I will say that because of this, we have sort of changed the way that we were submitting to make sure that the language, there's not any substantive changes in this. It's just a redefinition of the incentive grant. Before it was a spread of 8 to 10 million. The motion was for a minimum of 10 million. And so this is just to correct that, that stated amount. So it's the same company, the same jobs, et cetera, et cetera. It's just to change that spread as far as the investment goes.
All right, thank you, Alan. Gentlemen, you've had time to see this. I believe it is just kind of a more defined 2 or 3 different options, if my memory is correct, in terms of the levels of accomplishment. Any questions for Alan on this item? Hearing none, this item will remain on the scheduled public hearings agenda, and brings us to item number 3, also from Alan, building reuse grant and local economic development grant for project JP3.
This is a new company that is looking at Burke County in an existing building. We are looking to do a building reuse, of which the 5% local match would be split with the city of Morganton. There is a 40 jobs which are tied to the reuse grant, an estimated $11.5 million of new capital expenditures. There's a 1 NC which is being submitted. That requires a 50% match, and tied to that, what I'm proposing is an economic development incentive on the new taxable investment for a period of 5 years equaling 50% of the new taxable base. You see the computations on what it would be if the full $11.5 million is taxable. The only other piece of this which does not require a match, but we are applying for a lease through Golden Leaf to help them, assist them with purchasing of equipment. The way that lease runs is, if is approved, Golden Leaf would fund the purchase of the equipment. The lease would run through BDI, and then they would pay us back for that lease over a period of approximately 7 years. We're asking, I think, for $485,000 for that lease, but as I say, there is no local match required. I just wanted to update you on what we were doing there. So it's a good project, and we'll be very happy to have this company in Burke County.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Gentlemen, you've heard the information. Any questions for Alan on this item?
Mr. Chairman, just one comment. We ended up with 12.5 for both city and county. At any point, Alan, do we get that returned if certain things happen? Is there any way to get that money back out of the kitty?
That is the administrative portion. The only way, I mean, you only pay it if the grant is approved. And the company, that would not be refunded in any way. I mean, that if they did not create all the jobs, they would refund a portion of the grant money, but not on the administrative side.
Once we spend, the city and Hickory spends that 25,000, that's spent for good.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments for Alan? All right, thank you, Alan. Hearing none, this item will remain on the scheduled public hearings agenda without objection. Brings us to consent agenda. First item on the consent agenda is approval of purchase price for school property. That's going to be presented by Keith. Is he here?
I think Mr. Lawson's on his way. I haven't talked to him. He should be here shortly.
Okay, we'll delay this item then, move on to item number 2, because Doug's here right on time. Come on down, Doug, for school construction change order number 8.
Good afternoon. I'm Doug Setzer, Auxiliary Services Director for Burke County Schools. In your packet, you had change order number 8 that we would like to look at today. There's 5 items on that. The first one was in section area E. Actually, originally started out with a 3-inch hot water mechanical pipe, and it should have been 4. There's correction of that. It was $3,426. The second one, we found there's a tremendous amount of water comes down from the apartments on First Street up above the Martin Luther King Park and the Aquatic Center. The city had originally had a swale there that handled most of that water. We put in another inlet pipe there that took care of that water. That was one of the larger items on this change order, to take care of all that storm water and keep it from washing down into our bus parking lot. That was $6,135. Plumbing shock arresters that were not originally in the bid price, $738. Plumbing flush tubes in the pre-K and kindergarten first grade class. The grab bars interfered with the flushing of those toilets in that area. There's $796. And I guess the largest one on there for $12,490 was a change in some of the electrical upgrades with all the use that we think this school, the auditorium, gymnasium, be used after hours and on weekends. We added some occupancy sensors in classrooms when teachers coming back, and also for visitors on the weekends and at night, and took them off the building management system. That was $12,490. So that takes us to this change order of $23,585. If you look above that, previously we'd had $67,321,000. So this gets us to approximately $90,000, which I think we talked last time, that's 1/2 of 1%. I've talked to school planning with DPI, and a school that's built, especially in this quick a turnaround, we had 420 days. They said you could expect 5% in change orders. And so we're still well below that, so we feel good about these, and they are needed.
Okay, thank you, Doug. Any questions for Doug on these items?
Mr. Chairman, I just had one on that 3 to 4 inch pipe. Who was the wise guy that caught it before it's too late?
I think the contractor and his plumbing contractor caught that as he was going through it and what he was starting to put, and he found it before the pipe was ordered or anything. So
Very good. Somebody was on the ball.
that's it. That's what we're hoping. We're still looking for an August 1 occupancy on that building. As long as it quits raining. We've had I think so far this year we've had like 69 inches or 61 inches of rain, and last year this time we had 39 inches. So we've had a lot of water so far.
How do these change orders stack up with your contingency?
I think they're in line with those, aren't they, Paul? But,
as Doug mentioned, the amount of change orders is really good. And obviously no more than the cost of the change orders. The sales tax refunds on the project will be, you know, more than adequate to cover these dollars. So, yeah, I think everything's fine on that.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Doug.
Good,
Without
thank you for your time.
objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 3, clerk appointment to the Library Board of Trustees. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Seat number 8 on the Library Board of Trustees is vacant and must be filled by a Hildebrand City resident. Jenny Cook has applied to fill this vacancy. Ms. Cook also serves on the Board of Adjustment and has applied for an appointment to the Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees. Normally we do a 3-year term, but we're doing a 2-year term just to promote staggering of the terms. So we're asking that you appoint Jenny Cook to the Library Board of Trustees for seat number 8 to complete the remainder of a 2-year term ending December 31st, 2019.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this matter? Hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 4, clerk reappointment to Drexel Planning Board ETJ. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a request to reappoint Craig Baker to the Drexel Planning Board, seat number 1 for the ETJ for a 3-year term ending April 30th, 2021.
Any questions on this item?
Thanks for serving.
All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you. Again, Madam Clerk, removal of Parks and Recreation Commission member.
Thank you. This is a request to remove Margaret Curry from seat number 3 on the Parks and Recreation Commission. She resigned, and we wish to thank her for her service to the community.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this matter? Hearing none, without objection, it will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 6, clerk, appointment to Burke County Planning Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a request to appoint Gary Kling to the Burke County Planning Board, seat number 3, which represents the East, to complete an unexpired term ending September 30th, 2020.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any question on this item? Hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 7, clerk reappointment to the Board of Social Services. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, gentlemen. This is a request to appoint our chairman to the reappoint our chairman to the Board of Social Services, seat number 2 for a 3-year term ending June 30th, 2021.
Any questions on this item? All right, hearing none, without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Now you get a break, Madam Clerk. We'll go to item number 8, EMS Medical Director Contract Renewal. This will be presented by Greg Curry, our EMS Manager. Afternoon, Greg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you all are aware, Dr. Seth Collings Hawkins has served as the medical director for Burke County EMS for quite some years now. He also serves as medical director for the 911, for the local community college, as well as several other entities. We have him on a 2-year contract. The contract actually changed in July of 2016, where the contract was no longer between the County of Burke and Dr. Hawkins himself, but he actually began employment with Wake Forest University, and they have a rule basically that the contract is with County of Burke and Wake Forest, and then they pay him with monthly equal portions of that contract. That went into effect July of 2016. We've been in communication with Wake Forest. That expires June 30th of this year. So all I'm asking is that we renew that contract. There's no changes in any of the terms or amounts. And that contract would run from July 1 of 18 to June 30th to 2020. I'd be happy to entertain questions.
All right, thank you, Greg. Any questions for Greg on this matter? JR, you good with the contract as it been presented, or are we still looking for that? Or
The one that we negotiated out 2 years ago is what is on there, and what we would be having would be just a reproduction of that with the dates updated.
All right, thank you, Greg. Without objection, this item will remain on the agenda. Item 9, Finance, Home and Community Care Block Grant, fiscal year 18-19. This is going to be presented by Paul Imes, our Finance Director, and Sarah Stamey with the COG.
Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I'm Sarah Stamey. I'm the Aging Specialist at Western Piedmont Council of Governments. Tina Miller, the Aging Director, could not be with us today. The Home and Community Care Block Grant and related funding is granted to Burke County for the provision of services in persons over the age of 60. The Burke County Commissioners appointed the Burke County Council on Aging as the planning committee for the Western Piedmont Council of Governments as lead agency for the planning to bring recommendations to the Board of Commissioners concerning the use of funds. Burke County will receive $568,700 for home and community care block grant services for the service of July 1, 2018 through June 30th, 2019. The amount includes a reduction of $5,950 from state fiscal year 2017-2018 current allocations. Service allocations are based upon how much have been utilized during the past year and projected needs for state fiscal year 2018-19. We did last week receive a new allocation amount from the state, which includes the approval increase of the Older Americans Act in Burke County. Burke County will receive an additional $32,925 for HCCBG services. Sorry. The Council on Aging will meet again on June 27th for the service allocations, and our office will submit the revised paperwork for your approval at that time. But for now, we need the approval of the current budget that was presented to you. Any
All right,
questions?
thank you, Sarah. So we'll expect then to have a change. Will that be ready for our meeting or not?
Yep.
No. Yeah, August meeting, okay. Any questions for Sarah on this matter?
Thank you.
All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Sarah. All right, item number 10, Finance, approval of purchasing card application for State of North Carolina State Procurement Contract 946A, Bank of America P Card Program, presented by Thad Hodge, our Assistant Finance Director, and that's good old Thad right there. So here we go.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. So what I'm bringing before you, what you have in your packets, is a recommendation for the county to begin utilizing purchasing cards. The idea of a purchasing card is similar to a credit card, but it's different in many ways in that it offers a lot of accountability features, a lot of reporting features, a lot of control features for the finance department and county staff. Staff did an in-house study using 3 proposals from banks. The 3 banks we used were Regions Bank, First Citizens Bank, and Bank of America, which is under the state contract 946A. All 3 of those had fairly similar and competitive programs, but Bank of America was much healthier and beneficial for the county. Some of the benefits of the program: there's no fees associated with the program. The staff estimates a rebate or reward cashback in the county's pocket of about 1.9% of captured expenditures through the P-Card program. When we calculate that out, it came up to a very, very aggressive number would be probably $63,000, but probably more the realistic number would be $20,000 to $25,000 we would have the capability of earning as cash back. Other benefits to the program would be increased monitoring capabilities for the finance department, greater budgetary control. You can set spending limits for individuals and for cards. You can allow lodging and some travel expenses to be paid through these cards, which would in turn reduce a lot of checks being cut out of the finance department. So you're lowering costs for paper stock as well as indirect cost of personnel. You can encourage accountability for department heads so that they're monitoring more closely what's being spent out of their department. And like I said, with Bank of America, it's under the state contract 946A. It's widely used. A couple of the surrounding counties here use it. For one, Watauga uses Bank of America's P-Card program. It integrates with Munis. Another county that uses it close by is Gaston County. And the cards would not be issued to every employee, but instead mainly to department heads or other designated officials as approved by the finance department and county manager.
All right, thank you, Thad. Any questions for Thad on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple, and he answered one, I guess. I asked Head down there, how many card holders will there be? So you kind of answered that. We've never used this service in the past, is that correct?
Correct.
It's a wonder with that kind of savings, 190,000. And the other question is probably a Paul question. Do we have any commitment for citizens that we get a low interest rate loan, which created us to use that service from them?
Well, First Citizens was one of the banking institutions that Thad and Bobby Joe looked at. Their program, I guess, is not quite as good as Bank of America. But the other thing that does is, currently there's only a few select departments that have credit card access. And so a lot of times, we'll run into situations where a department will have to call and borrow a credit card in order to either reserve rooms if they travel. But, the P card program, which, I know we've talked internally for a couple of years about getting in place, it is a much better and more efficient way to make purchases, because instead of taking money out of petty cash or taking money out of your pocket and then submitting a, request to get reimbursed, you can handle those things, with the P cards.
Yeah.
And so, it's long overdue, for us, and I'm glad, we're at least in the process now of getting that initiated.
But we have no commitment to
No.
First Citizen that
No, we're not.
And that sounds like a sweet deal.
One of the last thing I would say, the one thing that Bank of America has going for it is because it's on the state contract, it has a much greater pool. So they're able to take the entire state contracts, purchase and put them together to get a higher rebate percentage for all the participating governments.
That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Other questions, comments, Thad? All right, thanks, Thad.
Thank you.
Item number 11, General Services, Solid Waste Division, Joyce Engineering Annual Services revisions. This will be presented by Miles Champion. Afternoon, Miles.
Afternoon, gentlemen. Burke County has operated a construction and demolition landfill at Johns River Waste Management Facility since '98. The operation of the C&D landfill comes with the state requirements as we have seen for the last number of years. Also we have two other landfills that are closed that we have to maintain monitoring on, which is Kirksey and East Burke landfills. This is an annual contract with Joyce Engineering. Includes the monitoring of reports and testing that is required by the state. This year it also includes the construction administration of gas extraction units at Johns River landfill and the gas remediation at East Burke and Kirksey landfills. The construction costs for the gas extraction units and the landfill gas remediation are included as capital improvements in this coming FY19 budget. The total contract is $208,000.
All right, thank you, Miles. Gentlemen, you've had this information. Any questions for Miles on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I have a couple on page 117, item C, and I think it's an excellent thing. It says each phase of that contract will be approved by county in advance of each phase. And the question is, I'm assuming that person who will approve that will be you, Miles?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. The second question is a little bit of an ouch after doing the services and having a contract. It's $100,000 for consulting. That seems high to me, Miles.
That is estimated right now. They have not completed design on the gas extraction units, and we do not know what the state is going to approve for the gas remediation at Kirksey and East Burke. So they're unknowns based on the fact that we do not know what the state's going to approve. So they just add an estimated cost of that in there. Hopefully that's going to come in less.
Well, in my mind, and I know that sometimes my mind doesn't think as deep as maybe as it should, but when they say we're going to consult and present it to you in advance and you're going to approve in each step, that to me is consultant, so, you know, but anyhow, that just seemed rather high. And that it's included in the total amount, so over half of it is consultant.
Yes, yes. Now, this is, this total contract is less than last year's annual contract, so that's a plus there. But yes, that is an estimated 100,000.
All right, Wayne?
Miles, how many years do you think we're going to be able to get out of that landfill yet?
The C&D landfill?
Yeah.
Well, currently, we're getting ready to open 2 more cells, 2A and 4, and those 2 cells alone should last us about 10 years. But we've also got another 4 more cells to open in that same location. So that could last a long time.
Do they need liners for C&D? Do they need liners or?
Only a clay liner.
Yeah.
Is much easier to build than a sanitary landfill.
So we're in good shape for quite a few years on that property.
Yes, that's correct. And we have material on site to build those landfills.
Okay. Other questions, comments for Miles? All right, thank you, Miles. Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item number 12, JCPC, removals, reappointments, and appointments to the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council. This will be presented this afternoon by A.J. Coutu. Afternoon, A.J.
Good afternoon, gentlemen and Kay. The Juvenile Crime Prevention Council has membership revisions for your consideration. Seats 18, 23, and 24, held by Lisa Cook, Grace McLeod, and Mackenzie McNeil, respectively, have asked not to be considered for reappointment for family and professional reasons. The council also requests reappointment in seats 1, 6, 9, 15, 19, and 21 of Mike Swan, Tara Conrad, Joseph Martinez, Judge Smith, Doug Knight, and Reverend Bridges, who have agreed to serve for the next 2 years again. The council also requests appointment. We've received applications from a juvenile defense attorney, Brooke Mills, for seat 14, and an at-large seat number 24 of Brandon Collins, who is a juvenile court counselor, and we're respectfully asking appointments for them.
All right, thank you, A.J. Any questions on this matter? Hearing none, this item will remain on the agenda without objection. Thank you, A.J.
Thank you.
Item number 13, NCDOT abandonment of a portion of Old Jamestown Road, and I don't believe DOT could be here today, so I'll recognize Madam Clerk for a comment on this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. This is a resolution requesting the county abandon a small portion, 0.125 mile of Old Jamestown Road, SR 1194, from the secondary road system as shown in your agenda packet. And this was a request from NCDOT to make that change.
All right, thank you, Madam Clerk. Gentlemen, you've had this information. This is out at Great Lakes Carbon. I think actually Great Lakes initiated the request to have this portion of the road closed. Any questions that probably I can't answer? Great Lakes Carbon. Way I understood it. Did anybody else understand it differently?
Well, the 2 questions, I guess you answered them. I wanted to know if anyone objected to the closing at all and the motive to close it, so.
Again, that's the property owner is the applicant, and I have not received any correspondence, yay or nay, either way.
If I hadn't missed my highway meeting for the trip to Raleigh, I'd have probably known the answer to those questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
That'll just probably come part of the parking lot, right?
That's,
I would think so.
yeah, or open up some property for other uses maybe. Yeah. Other questions, comments? All right. Hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Item 14, Senior Services, American Food Services LLC contract for nutrition program. This will be presented by Roxanne Powell. Afternoon, Roxanne.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is the nutrition services contract. It's up for renewal for the fiscal year 2018-2019. This is for the provision of meals for our home delivered Meals on Wheels program and our congregate nutrition program. This will be the third year of contract terms with this provider, which is American Food Services. There's basically no changes in this contract term from last year. However, the vendor has asked for, in a separate letter, he's asked to change the payment terms from a 30-day payment term to a billing every 2 weeks with a 10-day term. And he's also asked for a waiver of the performance bond, which is his second request. He was granted that last year.
All right, thank you. Roxanne, any questions on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Paul, is that ready to rock? Smooth as silk, right?
Mr. Chairman, a question for Kay. On the suggested motion, Kay, it says waive the requirement for the bond, but it doesn't say anything about the 30-day payment. Do you want to add that?
That's if it's your pleasure.
JR, what needs to be done there? Is that part of the contract, Roxanne, or is that something they've requested separately? Or
Their first contract term, we were paying them every 2 weeks. But they were billing us for 2 weeks and we were paid within 10 days. Last year was the first time we changed it to a 30-day payment term. They're asking in this third contract year to go back to the original setup of them billing us every 2 weeks. It just keeps cash flow for them.
is that part of this contract?
Our contract is written as for 30-day terms, so we would have to change that.
Are you okay with the 30 days? Is there a reason for it?
I think we just did it because it made the flow easier for us on the financial side. We could do either way. It does not matter.
Mr. Chairman, if we decide to if we want to change the 30-day, I'd like for it to be part of the motion.
Okay, Madam Clerk, can you add that to the motion and the contract will reflect that?
30 days.
No. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
You good with 2 weeks?
I'm good with 2 weeks. We just need to put it in the motion so we can have the performance bond and changing back to the 2-week notice.
We'll take care of it.
Other questions or comments? All right, thank you, Roxanne.
Thank you.
This item will remain on the consent agenda. Items 15 and 16, Tax Department. First item, collection report, and then the release refund report. This will be presented by Danny Eisenhower. Afternoon, Danny.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I'll just go over the percent collected. Start at the top, the current year taxes. This is property tax and vehicle tax. We're at 98.26% collected. Delinquent taxes were at 81.27% collected, and late list penalty were 99.41.
Questions for Danny on this item? All right, hearing none, this item will remain. Danny?
Okay, the release and refund report for May. We had releases in the amount of $2,919.99. Of that amount, $112.55 were rebilled, giving us a net release of $2,807.44. We had $38.35 in refunds, and then on the vehicle tax, we had refunds of $108.28.
Any questions for Danny on release and refunds? All right, hearing none, item 16 will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you, gentlemen.
This brings us to items for decision. Several items to look at here. First item is clerk appointments to the Veterans Service Board. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. This is a request to appoint someone to seat number 5. We have 4 applications on file for your consideration. The term would be the remainder of a 3-year term ending September 30th, 2018. And this is for the Veterans Service Board.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on this matter? Good to have some options. Lots of times we don't have any options or even no applicants. So glad.
Any of the commissioners know, excuse me, Does any of the commissioners know any of these individuals?
Refresh my memory. I believe, is Mr. Conley, is he still with the schools, or is he retired from JROTC?
He is still with the schools. He reached out to me. And I believe Mr. Ogle was on the Valdez Town Council.
And I know Mr. Knight.
I was on the United Way with
Who?
Mr. Conley.
So we want one, right?
Yep, we'll leave it out on one.
Okay.
Other questions, comments? Thank you, Madam Clerk. Item number 2, clerk appointment to Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, gentlemen. The Western Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees is a 12-member board. Four members are appointed by the county. Seat number 2 occupied by Ron Lewis. His term ends June 30th. He is not seeking reappointment, and we currently have 3 applicants on file for this appointment: Leanne Britton, Jenny Cook, and Rod Harrelson.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Any questions on these? All right, hearing none, this item will remain for decision. Again, we'll need to select one of those applicants or choose from any others that might present between now and the time of our meeting. So, item number 3, County Manager Memorandum of Understanding of Fiscal Year 2018-19 between the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Social Services and Burke County. Mr. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members of the board, this results out of a law that was passed by the General Assembly. And I've got Lorraine here if there are some questions. The law states that counties will enter into a contract or an agreement with DHHS. However, I'm not particularly pleased with the reluctance of DHHS to take into account some of the things that we have made them aware of. This is one of them, you're going to do what we told you to do or else type situations, in Brian's opinion. I've conferred on numerous opportunities with our DSS director about some things that she has concerns with that are out of our control. And some of that is staffing. I think you've got 11 positions vacant now. And, to make a good faith effort is one thing, but if it's one of these where we don't care what your problems are, we still expect you to get there, that's the way this strikes me in my review. Now, how they will administer this as they go down the road, I don't know. We're plowing new ground. And Drain, if there's anything I'm missed here you want to share with the board?
We've had several opportunities to respond to the state in regards to the standards that they've set for the department. Some are vague, so you're signing an agreement and you don't really know what you're signing to, which is of concern. Others are very clear. Some of them relate to human behavior, which you can't really measure. Things like making sure that children are out of care within 12 months of coming into foster care. You've got the courts involved, you've got the guardian ad litems involved, you've got multiple attorneys involved, you've got the parents' behavior, the child's behavior, whether you have staff available to address each of these families. All of those things are relevant. And there's many different standards and there's issues with many of them. So our department has taken every opportunity to share with the state what those concerns are. Your county manager did the same thing when he was given the opportunity to do that. He consulted with me, shared with the state what the concerns were. We got a response back. It didn't appear as though much, if anything, was changed after receiving the information. So I think that most counties are probably where we are, where they're trying to decide whether you want to sign this thing or you don't. Some will probably sign, some probably won't, some will put an addendum with it. All of them have probably consulted with their attorney before doing anything. So it'll be challenging at the least. And where it used to be, we'd have the positions that we had, the resources that we had would work really hard The consequences for not meeting standards used to be a pop on the hand or a program improvement plan, but now they can take state and federal money away from the county. The other question that we asked that we didn't get an answer to is, what would that look like? So is it program specific? So if you don't do well in one area, are you going to remove funds only from that area? Or are you going to go across the whole department and pull funding from every program? And we don't have an answer for that yet. But we'll keep seeking.
All right, thank you, Doreen and Brian. JR, any comments from your angle on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, this agreement is required by law, but it is stunning in its overreaching by the state. I don't know that there's anything that can be done other than what we've done, but it does represent potentially a new day for social services in North Carolina with these standards and the club of possible removal of state and federal funds.
I know both the County Association and the Directors Association, I may not be calling that quite right, Doreen, but I know they have been corresponding back and forth with the DHHS and the state on this agreement. I know managers across the state have had concerns about it. And JR, I think from what I've picked up, that you're exactly right. We don't have a lot of choice, but at the same time, nobody's very happy about it. So I guess we go down the road, and maybe if it gets really bad, we just tell the state to come take care of the whole thing for us.
Well, you know, the state has had to do that in one county, Cherokee County, and I think that's what's caused this to be so such a vice of an agreement, is that they've actually had to go in and take over DSS in Cherokee County. And that's unprecedented, and it's producing some unprecedented results.
Okay. Other questions or comments on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, just a couple. I agree with Brian. I read some of this stuff under 3.0 document. That's page 2 of the 22. There's 13 things there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 say mandated. And it's none of those things. To me, it comes across that, more mandates from a government entity that's supposed to be paying all the expenses, and they're expecting us to take up the slack. And I think the bigger question for understanding on this is, and I'm assuming every county in the state got these same instructions, so I'm not just picking on Burke County, but my point is, I'd like to know what they hope to achieve, or what created such a sharp right turn, if you will, on DSS. So, but I read some of it, and I just automatically said, man, I don't like this a little bit. But anyhow, I agree with Brian. I don't like the tone of it, I guess, more than anything else. So that's all I have.
Other questions, comments? All right, thank you, Brian. All right, this item number 4 is item added, County Manager appropriation of fund balance for legal fees. County Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, you may remember that we've had to have some outside counsel during this budget year. I know for the matter with the town of Glen Alpine, and then we ran into a circumstance with the DSS where the attorneys for a party, and there were multiple attorneys for a family that was supposedly indigent, and to have hired all these attorneys is just how you're broke, and how can you hire these attorneys? And they tried to get cute and play a legal maneuver to tie our attorneys up so that they couldn't represent the county. So we had to have the ability of a standby outside counsel. And there may have been some other overages during the year that have led us to believe we need to go ahead and prepare to close out the year with an additional $20,000 from fund balance.
All right, thank you, Brian. Any question on this matter? Hearing none, this item will remain on the items for decision. Thank you, Brian. Let's go back to item number 1 of consent agenda. Now I believe Keith is here. Keith, approval of purchase price for school property.
Good evening. Please accept my apology. I was deeply engrossed in closing out the school system's books for year end. At least this time I wasn't in pajamas at home,
Amen.
so I was able to get here fairly quickly. But again, I'm embarrassed that I wasn't here, and I do apologize for that. Today I'm seeking approval from you, the County Commission, on behalf of the Burke County Board of Education for the acquisition of property located on East Burke Boulevard, which would give us southern access to a parcel of property previously obtained for the future site of a new school in the eastern part of the county. This property would give us much needed access from the southeastern side, which would greatly improve the traffic flows of buses and cars as well to that future site. The purchase price agreed upon is $20,000 for that parcel.
All right, thank you, Keith. Any questions for Keith on this matter?
Mr. Chairman, no question, but Keith, I understand the motive and the reason to do that. The only question I would have, I think the value on that property, there's no building on it, correct?
That is correct.
And it's $13,000, we're going to pay $20,000 for it, which is about a third more.
Right. The assessed value is $13,979.
Could negotiate a lower deal?
Well, we did make attempts to negotiate down the price, but of course I suspect that maybe it garnered a bit of a premium. One, the fact that we were the party trying to purchase the property, and then we pursued them. They didn't actively have the property for sale.
No. Well, it certainly will add much value to your other property.
Yes, sir.
That's all, Chairman.
Thank you.
Keith, quick question on the piece we already own. How many acres is that? Do you remember?
If I'm not mistaken, I believe it was 23 acres.
Okay.
Other questions or comments for Keith on this matter? All right, hearing none, this item will remain on the consent agenda. Thank you, Keith.
Thank you.
Okay, let me remind you, this brings us to reports. If you have reports that you want Kay to include in our agenda packet for our regular meeting, please be sure to get those to her within the next few days by June the 11th. Then other discussion items, item number 8, tax amendment. This was newly added today. Tax amendment to tax collection agreement with Hildebrand. This will be presented by Danny Eisenhower. Danny?
Yes, sir, gentlemen. In October, the commissioners signed an agreement with the town of Hildebrand for us to collect their taxes. Since that point in time, everything's good, but since that point in time, the town manager has decided he wants a statement in the agreement that says that they will collect taxes from 2017 and back, and then we will collect them from 2018 forward. Just something to clarify who's doing what.
All right. Thank you, Danny. Any questions on this matter? JR, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it did need a sentence clarifying that we weren't going to be collecting back taxes, at least for years before 2018.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if the board wants to consider in the response to this, if Hildebrand wants this, now that it's come after we've already done the agreement, that they need to write that their town attorney instead of the county having to pay for a change that Hildebrand Town Manager wants. If the board would like to convey that. Well, I don't know your thoughts on that. Is that just something they can do in a one-page addendum to the agreement, or?
Did they write the agreement initially, or did we prepare that agreement?
Basically prepared by us, I would say. We used the agreements we've used in the past, and then JR reviewed it and made any edits that he felt were appropriate.
Okay, so you'll prepare something, Danny, or they ask them to, and they've already give you something in writing?
They have, other than the request that I received Friday afternoon, I have not received, what they wanted to actually say. I'll be glad to contact them and get that forward to JR.
Okay, any other questions, comments?
Have we done the work on that? Have we sent the bills?
No, so this will be the bills that we mailed this July.
Okay.
Whenever we first talked about this, one of the things that they agreed to verbally was that they would collect any remaining delinquent taxes from 2017 back, and then we would just be responsible forward. And I guess the county or the town manager just wants that in writing.
Other questions, comments? All right, hearing none, this item, where will that go, Madam Clerk?
Does it even need to be on the agenda? If Hildebrand's going to do it, or bring it back when it comes, or?
I would think you could move it to the consent agenda, and just put it on the agenda for the main meeting, showing the one-page agreement and giving the county manager or Danny the authorization to sign it.
Assuming I get one.
Assuming you get one.
Everybody good with that, to put it on consent agenda if we have what we need by that time? Okay, all right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. All right, I believe that's all we have on the agenda today. That's right. Maynard was wanting a lot of hay help, so anybody can go east and work in the hay field. That would really work out for Maynard, I believe. I hear one pass, I hear others.
It's a type of CrossFit, so it'll get you buff.
All right, with that, entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye. That's all of us. Thank you.